Marco van Basten's father, Joop, still lives in the flat where his son spent many of his childhood years. Today, Marco's former bedroom has been transformed into something more akin to a museum, dedicated to the career of one of football's most outstanding natural talents.
Himself, he doesn't care much for it at all. Even when he visits, he doesn't go into his room to see how it all looks. I did all of this myself. If it had been up to him, well, he just doesn't see the need. He's very down to earth. He really earned everything in here. That's why I kept it all up to date with a view to it being put on display sometime in the future. Because his legacy in football will live on, and he deserves it.
Joop van Basten himself had been an uncompromising defender for amateur side DOS. The game was in the Van Basten blood, though for the young Marco, what eventually became burning ambition was still just a flickering flame.
I wasn't really that focused on it. I was just enjoying it. I wasn't really dreaming from the beginning. I wanted to become one of the best players of the world.
He just loved every sport. And that was his lifeblood. But it would always be around the neighbourhood playing football. He was just made for football.
And little by little I get more specialized in football, and then I was thinking about becoming a professional player.
Like many before him, as a youngster, Marco played anywhere he could. In later years, his name would grace a sports complex built on the site of his earliest footballing forays, a mere corner kick away from his childhood home. But it was just across the Amsterdam-Rhine Canal at local sports club UVV where he truly fell under the game's influence. One of his earliest coaches was Fred de Klein.
He hated losing. He only wanted to win right from the start, and that is very important. There was a part of him from a very young age. He would play football on the street day and night, and even there he wanted to win every game.
It was his life. He couldn't even sleep at night because of it. He had to win.
Such resolve would prove essential. Marco was already facing his future.
If you play on the centre-forward position, I had always fight, and I always they marked me very well. So I was telling to my father, yeah, I would like to play more football. So maybe it's better to play in the midfield. And my father said, no. Just stay in the attack, because it's better, because that's the most difficult position, and there it's the position where you learn the most.
Marco quickly learned he was a natural goalscorer, though at times aptitude and attitude were far from equal partners. On such occasions, Joop's influence proved decisive.
He once had a defender marking him who was 2 feet taller than him, and this guy did nothing but kick him from behind.
They just tried to stop me in every way.
He was so angry. He walked off down the canal and I saw him go, so I went after him.
My father said to me, okay, if you don't go back to the field, I will kick you back in the field by myself.
So he went back, and having gotten over his frustration, he completely fooled the guy, scored twice and won the match.
He explained, okay, if the opponent plays like that, you have to take it like a compliment, because they are not able to stop you, and okay, that's part of the football, and so I accepted it.
I've seen this kind of thing several times. Once I was sitting in the stand by the pitch and he came to sit next to me. So I said, "What are you doing here?" And he said, "It's raining." So I said, "Either get back on the pitch or I'll kick your backside." You see, when they're young, you have to teach them persistence and show them what they should and shouldn't do.
Yeah, we talked a lot about football, and he was also very critical often. But in the end, I think it helped.
Clearly talented beyond his years, Marco's reputation was further enhanced by an endorsement from the legendary Johan Cruyff.
He had amazing qualities. I mean, with his feet, right foot, left foot, his head. He was very intelligent.
Word was spreading. In Milan, former player Sandro Mazzola was still on the staff at Internazionale and, having organised a five-a-side tournament, invited Cruyff to bring along a Dutch team.
He said, "I'll bring you this 15-year-old. Marco was only 15 then. And I said to him, "Look, this is a professional tournament." And he said, no, this boy's already halfway there. You'll see what a player he is." He was playing with great players, both on his team and the opposition, but he wasn't at all afraid. He wanted the ball, he ran around, he dribbled, he took shots. Straight away, I saw this was a real talent.
After nearly a decade at UVV, it was clear Marco's ability would take him further. Ultimately, and fittingly, to Holland's most decorated club. Ajax had genuine European pedigree. 3 consecutive European Cups during the early 70s had made sure of that. For Van Basten, it was a logical move, and progress was rapid as he learnt from a bona fide Dutch master.
Cruyff came back from, I think, America, and he was training some trainings with the youth of Ajax with us. So we were playing with him, and that was an honor for us, and we were really excited also.
One of the problems I had, I was always talking, always showing. It helped him a lot, I think.
I was coming to Ajax when I was 16 and played for the youth, and then halfway I was playing for the second team of Ajax, and then in April I could make my debut for the first team of Ajax.
Marco came on as a substitute for Johan Cruyff, and it took him only 10 minutes or so to score. And of course, that was the best thing that could have happened to him.
Van Basten scored 9 times in his first full season at De Meer, but even as a teenager, he was already his own man.
More introvert and more quiet. On the other hand, Marco isn't the guy who's always friendly and quiet, because if something is boring him, he will tell you.
Well, it was difficult. He was not always a team player. Marco was always on his own way in the pitch, and but outside of that, he was a friendly person, and is a friendly person.
He knew what he wanted, and he wanted to do everything to reach his goals.
Van Basten. Moeilijke hoek, redt hij het of niet? Ja hoor! Marco van Basten. Van Basten, goal! Schiet het goal! Wat fantastisch! Van Basten, prachtig! Ingeschoten goal!
Van Basten, schitterend! Schitterend, Marco van Basten.
Playing alongside the likes of Cruyff, Koeman and Rijkaard, it was inevitable the young striker would fulfil his potential. And how? An astonishing 117 goals in 112 matches, many of them marked with true genius, meant Van Basten finished as top scorer for 4 consecutive seasons. In the 85-86 season alone, he scored 37 goals in only 26 league matches, a feat which brought him the Golden Boot. In 1987, Ajax reached the European Cup Winners' Cup final where they met Lokomotiv Leipzig in Athens. For Van Basten, it was a landmark moment.
I realized that we had a possibility to make history, because winning a European Cup was something special. And I had something by myself, okay, if there is a possibility in the first chance, get it. Because if you don't take it, the next time it's going to be more difficult.
Van Basten, het is 1-0.
first step was something done, and they couldn't say afterwards, okay, he's a good player but not really a winner. And I was a person who has already won European Cup, so that was something that gives you a good feeling.
Back in Milan, the young Dutchman had not been forgotten. During his early years at Ajax, he'd signed a pre-contract agreement with Internazionale, thanks to the continued interest of Sandro Mazzola. Towards the end of that season, though, Van Basten had fallen ill.
The news came to me that he would have to stay where he was for the next 6 months. I couldn't wait 6 months, as we had to present the new team. So in the end, we never drew up a definitive contract. And then things changed in Italy. We were no longer allowed to sign foreign players. And when eventually we were able to, someone a lot better than me took him to AC Milan.
For the Nerazzurri, Van Basten was the one that got away. Worse still, he would go on to achieve legendary status with their San Siro rivals.
At that time, the big players went to Italy. AC Milan was a very traditional club, and there was a new president who wanted to make history. So that was the reason why we chose for Milan. Because he was really eager to win something. He had the power and also the money to realize something really big.
Silvio Berlusconi's dream was realised as Milan won their first Scudetto since 1979. But for Van Basten, the alarm bells were already ringing.
I didn't play well because of my problem with my ankle. And then on a certain moment, okay, I have to stop because I can't train anymore, I can't play anymore. So I went to Barcelona to a doctor who had nothing to do with Ajax or Milan or whatever. And he said, okay, you have to be operated because there's something really wrong in your ankle.
Van Basten missed 6 months of that season, but crucially for his country, his return coincided with that summer's European Championships. The Netherlands lost their opening fixture, though, to the Soviet Union. Van Basten began that game on the bench, but was recalled to the starting 11 for the following match, a must-win encounter against England.
Wow, Wallace had a tough season, but a little bit tired also. He was fresh, and I think he gave us the boost that we needed, especially against England.
That was a special game for me.
Lining up for England that afternoon was John Barnes.
The players insisted Marco played, and we were quite happy at that because he hadn't been fit. We ruled that decision because he was just an incredible player, Marco van Basten. He was a complete footballer.
Van Basten scored twice more, not so much a hat-trick as a statement of intent. The English were undone by a Dutch masterclass, one which ultimately led to a semi-final showdown with old rivals West Germany. For some, there were scores to settle.
A lot of people in Holland, they didn't really forget the 74 World Champion finals. For them it was very important. A lot of the Dutch had problems with the Germans. But I wasn't like that. I was just playing football and I wanted to beat the opponent.
Van Basten did just that, striking the winner with just 2 minutes remaining to seal a momentous 2-1 win.
Everybody was happy that we won against Germany. I was happy because we went to the final, and that was something that was for me important.
Once again, the Soviet Union stood in their way, but lightning was not about to strike twice. First on the score sheet was Ruud Gullit, but the best was yet to come.
Marco made something out of it that was something to remember.
It was just a moment, and we are still celebrating.
I jumped up in front of the television. I had tears in my eyes. I really cried.
For a second, your heart simply stops and all you can hear is the crowd cheering.
What started as a very difficult tournament changed as a dream for someone like me.
Of course, I regard this one as very special, the win and becoming champions. Such moments become engraved in your memory.
It was something not really expected, but I was happy that my ankle was feeling much better, and I couldn't start pretty good and fresh on the next season with AC Milan.
Van Basten had peaked internationally, but Milan went from strength to strength. The club's Dutch contingent was further boosted by the arrival of Marco's former Ajax teammate, Frank Rijkaard.
It was a great team, not only the Marco and Ruud, for instance, but especially the Italian players. They were really down to earth, working really very, very hard.
Italians are more focused on the road ahead. Whereas the Dutch think, we're playing for 90 minutes and we have to win. They brought that mentality with them.
They were all good players, but not only good players, they were also good persons, because everybody wants to play football, they liked training, and they didn't really think about other things. They just want to be a good player and winning a lot of things.
It was a very strong group, a team who really knew their football. And we were a team which didn't rely on any one individual. That was significant too, as individually all our players were excellent.
Milan now sought their destiny. Success in Europe was the minimal requirement, and the opportunity arrived in 1989 against Steaua Bucharest.
When we went with the bus to the stadium, we were crossing, I think, more than 95,000 Milan fans. And you all saw a sea of black and red. If you see all these people, all these crowd, that was very emotional.
It was like a home game for us. And the sensation already after 2-3 minutes that this was our game.
That was a special night. We played a fantastic game. From the first minute, we dominated the game. We played a very good game, all of us.
We were moving on the pitch as a team. It was like an organism on the pitch, and it was moving all together. I think it was, one of the perfect games that we played.
Van Basten and Gullit scored twice each. Milan had set a new standard in European football. It was a standard they maintained the following season in Vienna. Van Basten's pass set up Frank Rijkaard as Milan defended their title against Benfica. The Dutch were helping the Italians dominate Europe. The Rossoneri were inescapably the continent's best team, and Marco van Basten was hailed as Europe's finest player.
I suppose the person who really pushed us forward was Van Basten, because of his ability in front of goal and the goals he scored. A really great player.
I think he was excellent. I just did everything to give him the ball as much as possible.
He was the most beautiful striker I've ever seen. He had an incredible elegance about him. He could do anything with the ball.
He is and he was one of the best strikers in the world.
He could score goals in every possible way. Spectacular goals, tap-ins, individual goals. He was a complete footballer.
It wasn't just about his goals. He was very quick. He was good one-on-one. He was strong in the air. He had a great shot with either foot. It was hard to find a quality that he didn't possess.
Off the pitch, he was a little less charismatic than Ruud. But on it, he was a lot more important and decisive. And all the players knew that. They knew Marco's importance on the pitch, and to listen when he spoke, even if he did speak less than Ruud.
Consistently victorious, repeatedly triumphant, Van Basten won a third Ballon d'Or, equalling the achievement of Cruyff and Platini before him. The young Dutchman, though, was running on borrowed time.
When the fields became harder or softer, I had more problems with my ankle. So I went to the doctor and he said, okay, we can clean your ankle. They call it a nettoyage. They clean it, and then if this cleaned, you can just play easily for a few more years. But it all went wrong. It get from bad to worse. And in the end, I couldn't walk anymore. Football was my life, and I was dying as a football player.
Marco did return for the 1993 Champions League final against Olympique Marseille, but was a shadow of his former self. A marked man since his youth, a victim of his own ability, Marco van Basten would never play football again.
All the cartilage was gone, and I worked and I tried everything for 2.5 years.
He had to give it up, and that was really tough on him, which is understandable because he loved playing football. So yes, it was over. It was all over.
For about 10 years, Marco van Basten was the best footballer in Europe. 10 years. An injury ended that.
It was very, very difficult to accept the fact that I had to stop playing football. It was something what I never ever had expected.
Milan's success continued without Marco, but from the touchline the view was bittersweet.
I was still young. I was when it happened. It was only 28 years, and I had still so much possibilities and will to show to all the people and to play football. It was a pity that I couldn't continue. That was something what is just bad luck.
Van Basten moved into coaching with spells back at Ajax either side of a stint in charge of the national team. He also returned to UVV, where he opened their new stadium before donning their colours one last time. A pleasant reminder of an outstanding talent, a sad reminder of what might have been.
I've always said Van Basten is the best player I ever played with, because he only had a few years to show his full talent. He won 3 Ballon d'Or, yet was only 28 when he retired. Most players have a little more time than that.
Well, pride, the meaning of the word is clear, but it goes way beyond that. I had a son who was a top player. What else could you wish for? I was happy, and so was he.